Greetings, my candy hearts and paper flowers. This is Gabriel Jones giving you a drop of sun any chance I get, and I have a special upload for you today. I figured I should try something different today. Normally you would see me react to Eurovision performances or discuss new releases in my Sum Up series, but I wanted to strengthen my writing skills a bit further. I wanted to publish a video essay, and not just any video essay. This will be something that would connect my love for music to other media I enjoy. What better way to experiment than by looking at a chaotic cartoon? It's been more than 2 months since Glitch Studios had premiered its 9th and final episode of the global sensation, The Amazing Digital Circus. The animated series follows a woman named Pomni who gets trapped inside a virtual world with several other wacky characters, and is ruled by the eccentric but frightening host Kane. As they're forced to go on adventures to keep their brains stimulated, they must avoid the point of losing their sanity and going into abstraction. Suddenly, Pomni and her friends need to figure out how to navigate this universe they've effectively become a part of. I was captivated by The Amazing Digital Circus every step of the way. As the mystery unraveled with each new release, I became more sucked into the story as if I wore the VR headset. My attachment to the show grew so strong that I even bought myself a Gummy Goo t-shirt. You might have seen me wear it on video if you're one of the 10 people who watches my Sum Up videos. Someday I'll reach the show's pilot numbers. But I also thought it would be fun to talk about the show on YouTube. My good friend Hella Vitram was suggesting for me to make something Amazing Digital Circus related, and I think she was right. Although I couldn't decide how to connect that to my channel's theme of music. I thought about analyzing Kane's villain song, The One Who's Running the Show, but I'm certain people have dissected that enough already. Then I watched the finale, and a familiar tune and soul caught my ears.
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful?
Gooseworx had the idea of adding a rendition of Isn't She Lovely to the 9th episode. It's played during the montage of the show's most polarizing character, Jax. I find it fascinating how this is practically the only use of licensed music that we get in the show. At least one that has overt symbolism. So in this video, we'll be looking over the use of the song, how it connects to Jax's character, and how it sort of speaks to the overall theme of the show. So grab yourself a big old piece of cake, because we're getting digital. This video really inspired me to look at some of Stevie Wonder's discography a bit further. The man has been on a bunch of interesting journeys, from singing to the Obama family, to coaching on American Idol, to having rap battles with superheroes. But I should know him better as the guy who helped Chris Daughtry achieve a music career. I decided to explore Stevie's work by listening to his essential albums listed on Apple Music, since it would take much longer for me to go through all 23 studio records. First up was Music on My Mind. This was considered to be the start of Stevie Wonder's legendary run in the 1970s, and it saw him experiment with the Tonto synth to give the album a futuristic sound. Next came Talking Book, his 1972 LP, which continued his exploration of synth work and features the legendary Superstition. The third album was Inner Visions. Released in 1973, this is one of Stevie's more politically charged albums, where he touches on drug addiction, racial job inequality, war, and abuse of governmental power. It also contains the iconic Latin soul tune, Don't You Worry About a Thing. Following that was Fulfillingness's first finale, which has been described as one of his more enlightened albums, and features some killer harmonica work. Lastly, Stevie released Songs in the Key of Life in 1976. This album comes with 2 discs, but is widely regarded as his best record of all time. It features some of the best instrumentation of his career, his most profound messages, and of course the song this video is about, Isn't She Lovely? The 6-minute song was written by Stevie Wonder to celebrate the birth of his daughter. You hear the baby's cries as the music begins, and the artist bursts into his cheerful tune. He is beaming with delight over having a new child. He thanks the Lord for blessing him with this new life, and you can almost imagine the tears of joy flowing from his cheeks. The lyrics barely even take up half the song, while the other half is just instrumental. He allows you to take in this glorious moment along with him. While never charting on the Hot 100, Isn't She Lovely was certified gold in America and has become one of Stevie's most cherished songs in history. Some people might even remember that Harry Styles performed the song when he originally auditioned for the X Factor.
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful?
Stevie is out here making all the musicians excel in talent shows. Now, you might think a lot of this research was pointless because we're supposed to be focusing on the one song. I could have saved enough time to go bull riding with Kinger. But I think it's important to explore Stevie Wonder's past discography because it establishes who he is as an artist. Stevie Wonder's music has always stood for spreading love and joy, not just for African American communities, but for all people who his music would reach. It's important to remember that the peak of Stevie's fame was in the 1970s, and this wasn't simply a decade full of disco and psychedelics. The Vietnam War was raging on, the Watergate scandal had broken out, and racial injustice was infecting American society. And keep in mind, this was just a few years after MLK was assassinated. All of these issues were either touched on in his songs or could easily be connected to them. Stevie Wonder was always politically conscious, recognizing the problems plaguing the US at the hands of racists and government leaders. But even through all the turmoil the 70s brought, he was always about bringing listeners together, crafting funky, soulful tunes crowds could dance to where happiness would flow through their spirits. He wanted to fight evil with the power of love, and he became very successful in that regard. He's considered a legend for a reason. The themes and ideas presented in Stevie Wonder's music could easily be correlated with those shown in the Amazing Digital Circus. People are stuck in a wild universe they can't control, and they have no idea where the pain will end. But through kindness and empathy, they can help each other survive and avoid the dark thoughts that would otherwise lead to self-destruction. That sense of understanding includes learning to make people feel open to express themselves however they please. That would be something they try to teach a particular character, although the results were not exactly satisfactory. When Jax is first introduced in the series, we immediately sense how much of a jerk he is, tossing bowling balls, shoving women, and refusing to help characters when they're in trouble. It reached a point where fans were questioning why they should even root for him. This is a likable character? What was Gooseworx thinking? Well, it's clear we were bound to learn about the layers of his character, and boy, were they deep. As the show slowly progresses, we learn a few more details about his time in the circus. Him and Kaufmo were rather close to the point where he feels repressed guilt about his abstraction. He normally prefers adventures where he can just screw around, which is why he loathed being stuck inside the fast food restaurant. But after reaching Untitled, we get a moment that totally changes the view of his character.
Do you have any actual friends?
Not anymore. Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about that. That wasn't meant to be.
Jax begins seething at the mention of a previous friend, and Ragatha is guilty for even bringing them up. Even later in episode 5, when their friendship was mentioned again, Jax wipes the cheeky smile off his face and looks ultra serious.
I'm sorry, Jax. For bringing up that thing earlier.
For a while, it's not made clear what exactly happened between Jax and this other friend. However, we can assume that he did something to sabotage their bond, which is hinted when Ragatha blames herself for failing Jax in an act of self-hatred.
I think I might have failed Pomni. Just like I failed Jax.
Even when he bonds with Pomni closely in the Gun episode, he decides to ruin the relationship entirely, much to Pomni's frustration.
I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
Jax was a character who always preferred to stay wrapped in mystery. Even when pressed to share his backstory, he just makes a cheap Breaking Bad reference and the gang doesn't even try to pry deeper. He would rather be seen as a manly mischief who just likes to mess with people just for the hell of it. It makes him feel more free. Or at least that's what he claims it does. His behavior almost reminds me of an internet troll who stays glued to their computer all day, posting on edgy forums and uploading shocking memes for the lulz. Even if people are upset or hurt by all this, so what? It's not like society is improving in their eyes. Jax doesn't see a way out of the circus, so why not just mess with people all the time? Because in the end, nothing matters. Right? Well, friendship matters, love matters, guidance matters. These are the types of virtues that help human beings move forward and keep surviving. Not caring about anyone doesn't help when your very species relies on you being social. And Jax foolishly sees those tools as unimportant, causing him to be alone. Towards the end of They All Get Guns, Jax rushes into the bathroom feeling all torn up, which he ironically made fun of Ragatha for. After he calms himself down, he looks in the mirror and says perhaps the most honest thing about himself.
God, you look stupid.
This isn't to chastise his overall self, but to chastise the part of him who wants to stay hidden, or closeted. Now it's time for us to veer off into massive spoiler territory. You've been warned. In the 9th episode, Kane has been deleted from the circus, and Kinger finally realizes that they're all just brain scans, and there truly is no way to exit. After a heavy grieving process, the team slowly begins to patch up the holes in the floor, building up their morale once again, save for one unhappy character. After much foreshadowing, Jax unfortunately abstracts, and feeling that his story isn't over yet, Pomni literally goes inside of his eye-coded form to learn about the true him. She stumbles into a room where 3 Jax clones are playing a game of poker, and we can easily tell they're meant to be his projected personalities. One resembles his cruel sense of humor, another resembles his violent tendencies, and the third resembles his repressed gender identity.
I'm wearing it ironically. That way it shows truly just how little I care.
Right. And Steven Crowder dresses in women's clothing purely to trigger the feminists. Makes a lot of sense to me. However, one clone is ostracized from the group, that being Jax's desire to freely express himself, in this case, through music. The 3 toxic clones get to do whatever they please, while the much kinder clone is chained up, never roaming free. It's also probably worth noting how his go-to instrument is the same as Stevie Wonder's. Almost makes you realize how much he's trying to shelter that side of himself. Pomni is able to access Jax's memories, and she learns about the friendships he had with characters Kaufmo and Ribbit. After much bonding, Jax opens up about a deeply personal story where he pushed his mom to the ground, and that led him to run away and become homeless. Ribbit comforts him after this reveal, and in an act of sympathy, she places her iconic bow on top of his head, causing him to blush. And it looks like Jax is finally free to be his authentic self, until Kaufmo knocks, leading Jax to toss the bow on the floor, dismiss Kaufmo, and abruptly exit Ribbit's room. That fear of humiliation sadly flips a switch in his head. From there, it's a downward spiral for Jax. He shuts Ribbit out, refusing to team up with her, making her feel unwelcome in group hangouts, and lashing out at her in a nasty yelling match where she just wants to reconnect with him. This eventually leads to Ribbit abstracting, and Jax's mean-spirited personality officially takes hold of him. By this point, Kaufmo has been pushed away as well, and you can guess he doesn't go out pleasantly either. Hearing him say, "I know we don't get along," especially aches my heart when you think back to their happier memories. Pomni soon reaches the true Jax, and despite his resistance, she gives him the hug that he could have used much earlier. Jax tearfully says, "I don't want to go," and when he begins to glitch out, we finally hear it. The iconic soul track accompanied by a recap of all of Jax's highlights in the series.
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful?
As a bright montage of past moments graces the screen, the rendition of Stevie Wonder's classic is on full blast, and it's even led by the voice actor of Disappearing Guy, Katawat Hongthong. Even when the main vocals are done, the song turns into a cinematic number, joined by somber backup singers. It's ironic how a song about birth is used to honor someone's death. It's quite strange, isn't it? Eventually, the team swoops in to rescue Pomni. That way, they can all comfort Jax together. When Gangle finally cries over Jax's abstracted form taking shelter in the tents, it suddenly helps you understand the song's entire significance and the tragedy behind the Purple Bunny's demise. You're not supposed to mourn the person Jax was, you're supposed to mourn the person Jax never became. He could have built stronger relationships with the other characters, he could have shared his talents, he could have explored his gender identity further. But sadly, he never took any of those paths. Jax preferred to be a jerk and have everyone despise him than connect with his true self and risk the possibility of shame that he made up in his own head. This is something Kane's voice actor, Alex Rochon, would even post on Blue Sky. The trans angle is also fascinating because it's plausibly at the core of why Jax is always closed off. His biggest fear is being seen as a laughingstock, something his former friends never even considered him to be, and we now know it had a lot to do with him being closeted as trans. This, in hindsight, is very noticeable in Beach Episode. In a rare act of goodwill towards Jax, Zubul explains that they've accepted the ability to change shape like a gender-fluid person, and being honest with people. And right after they've said this, Jax instantly masks up again and pretends to be unbothered.
I've been starting to think that maybe the ability to change is fine. Not needing to commit to one thing all the time.
How about that?
And if I do still have problems, I talk about them with the people I trust.
Good thing I don't have any problems then.
It's just like an automatic switch for him. He does it with ease. I also find it very fascinating how the character who remains in the closet is especially harsh towards characters who are meant to be queer-coded. It's sort of like how a certain late American politician was largely speculated to be gay, but was never honest with that side of himself, and even spent decades using his position to damage the rights of other LGBT citizens. Is it possible Jax is from South Carolina? Well, he did grow up in an environment where he was lambasted for not being man enough, and when he presumably revealed his true self to his mother, all she could do was laugh and not take him seriously. Even when meeting the coolest possible character in the circus, who encouraged him to be open and accepting, his self-rejection got the better of him, and rather than helping him survive, it led to his ultimate downfall. While Pomni doesn't mention any exact details to the other characters, Gangle instinctively realizes Jax robbed himself of the chance to get better, and that's why she begins to sob. Gangle was easily the biggest target of Jax's shenanigans, to the point where he literally became an abuser, following in his parents' footsteps. It makes perfect sense why she wasn't grieving his abstraction at first, but after soaking in the rambunctious rabbit in his abstracted form, the waterworks begin to flow like the Fudge River. Zubul perfectly describes this reaction as complex.
Having a lot of complex thoughts.
Gangle hasn't forgiven Jax. In fact, she might never reach that point, but she's allowed herself to see him as more human.
We're still human.
When this scene happened, I was strongly reminded of the Hell of a Boss short Whacked Off. In it, Moxie is tasked with killing a young lad in the mob who reminds him of his own life as a gangster, especially his toxic relationship with his father. However, the human father decides to sacrifice himself and take the fall for a botched mission, thus sparing his son, and this crushes Moxie. His father, Krim, would have never gone out of his way to protect his son from danger, which is what he tearfully explains to Millie.
He's a mobster. I thought he had to be. He didn't have to be.
Arguably, Gangle and Moxie share similar realizations. Both of their abusers had the chance to shape themselves into better people and just never took it. There have even been theories of Krim being a closeted gay man, which would make the connection even stronger. But the pain they've suffered reminds them of why they need to live their lives uplifting others and doing the best they can for their surroundings. Because companionship will always fulfill you more than control. Moxie will continue cherishing Millie and his soon-to-be-born child, while Gangle will continue to cherish Zubul. Speaking of artists, the song being used to show what Jax could have been is really apparent when you look at all the drawings people have made to reimagine Jax as a trans woman, and all the different outfits she could have worn if she was just honest about her gender identity. You really take delight in seeing the community come together to show support for their fellow trans folk. Even the show's own creator has done it herself. This is especially nice given how hectic the fans tend to be. While there was never a visual representation of what Jax would have looked like as a woman, because again, they were trapped in the closet, the fandom is free to explore that possibility themselves. Now that's what I call companionship. Contrary to what so many highly viewed videos say, I think it makes total sense for the majority of the finale to focus on Jax. The thesis of the show from the beginning is that you may find yourself trapped in a crazy, nonsensical world with danger sprawling about. You'll find that as you continue living on this planet, it could be hard to understand your own existence and what the point of persevering is. But that won't be impossible to accomplish as long as you have friends, togetherness, communication. That was something Jax never attempted to understand. Jax is a representation of what happens when you choose not to be open about your struggles with others. This was something each character accomplished individually. Pomni and Ragatha gave Kanger a purpose by letting him look out for them like two daughters, even with his wife now gone. Zubul lifted up Gangle after she felt guilty about her fast food suggestion, and that eventually led to them becoming romantic partners. Pomni and Ragatha have solidified an undying friendship for one another, going from not being on the same page to tearfully hugging one another and promising to always have each other's backs. But as stated before, this will give the group motivation to make everyone feel more welcome, to forgive Kane after he tormented them out of ego and make him an equal part of the group, to make sure characters who may arrive in the future will never feel left out or ashamed again. The circus will be a place of love, peace, and acceptance. From that point onward, everybody will feel lovely. I hope you enjoyed what I had to offer today. I normally don't upload videos like these, but it was a good way to experiment. I might create another video essay in the future, I'm not entirely sure. I just knew that I wanted to write this particular piece. But for everyone who stuck around up until this point, thank you immensely. It means so much to me. I had fun with this video and I hope you did as well. I'll have to think about what other special uploads I want to take on, and I'm sure that it'll be a blast to post them. But in the meantime, if you guys want to follow me on social media, be sure to check out my Blue Sky, my Twitch, and my TikTok. Links will be in the description. And that's all the time I have for today. My name is Gabriel Jones and the sun may be setting, but I hope you were able to soak up those drops. Take care.